The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod. We're webcasting to you live from the Center for Autism and Related Disorders headquarters in Tarzana, California. It's Monday, a very exciting Monday around here too. If you follow me on Facebook at all, and I hope that you will, I'd like to be friends. It's not following on Facebook, that's Twitter. I don't know my terms. But let's be friends on Facebook. And I mentioned yesterday that the rumor is true that I am going to get an opportunity to interview Temple Grandin tomorrow. I want to let everybody know that that will not be live on the show. We need to go where she is, so we'll be taping that. There will not be a live show tomorrow because of that, but then I will be back with stories on Wednesday. Of course, we'll have Ask Dr. Doreen on Wednesday, and we'll have Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy, and I will have stories of meeting and sitting and talking with Temple Grandin. By the way, you have the opportunity to always write into this show and tell us what you're thinking, ask questions, tell us what kind of experts you'd like to see on the show and what you'd like to ask them. When we have experts in on the show, we love it when you ask them questions because that's really what this show is meant to be, is interactive. That all goes for today, and I'm going to ask Emily to start showing you some of the different ways that you can interact with us today. But I want to remind you especially today that I'm compiling questions to ask Temple Grandin tomorrow. So if you would like your question asked, and if you would like me to tell her who asked the question, send your name to us and your question. And you got to do it today, right? Because I go tomorrow and I'm compiling the questions tonight. And already you guys have written in some amazing, amazing things. So really excited about that. And I want to remind you that if you're watching us live, and there is only one place right now to watch us live, www.autism-live.com. There is a feature there on the desktop. If you go onto that site, when we're live, it says Shannon is answering right now, or the question that's being answered right now. And there's a box there that is completely interactive. All you have to do, the cursor is there. You just type away, say, I'm watching you from Egypt. I don't, wherever you are, or tell us what's going on. Tell us what you want to know. You can send your questions to Temple Grandin right now, and we can answer questions in live time. So that's a really great thing. And by the way, you don't have to log in. Nobody's asking for your credit card number. There's no charge. It's totally free, interactive. We like to have the back and forth. So that is on autism-live.com. For those of you who are watching a previously taped version of the show, I want to remind you that our live show, if you do want to do that interactive feature, we are at 1 p.m. Eastern Time here in the United States. That is when we are live for 2 hours. So if you're Pacific Time, that's 10 a.m. And of course, everything in between, you guys are very good at doing the math. And, for all the other time zones, because we are watched internationally, I believe that we're watched in more than 102 countries. Is that what the number is? Something like that. I hope that you can figure out what the time difference is. But remember that if it's not conducive to you watching during the live time, we love it. When you write to us, tell us the question, we will cover it on the show. In fact, we're going to cover a question that was emailed to us in just a little while. So all of that, we are going to be talking about autism here. The show is called Autism Live. This is not a surprise to anyone, I don't think. And how we can be the most effective and efficient members of a team working with an individual on the autism spectrum. Or if you are joining us and you are somebody who's on the autism spectrum, giving you some information that hopefully you can use so that you can reach your fullest potential. And quite honestly, we do talk about autism, but really we talk about all of us reaching our our fullest potential. I want to reach my fullest potential as a person on this planet, and I want to reach my fullest potential as the mom of a child who has an autism spectrum disorder, because that is what my official title is. I am not an expert in autism. I am not a doctor. I'm not a physician. I am not a therapist. I could learn, and I would like to learn to do all of those things, and especially if I had more time, right? But first and foremost, I am a mom. I'm a former educator, and I am the mom of a young man who is 9.5 now, was diagnosed with autism at 2.5. We just last week had our 7-year anniversary of, I don't know why that gets me emotional even talking about that, of when he was diagnosed, of that fateful day. What I know about autism is like this much, right? But I have been on this journey for 7 years now. That is nothing compared to some of the amazing parents and individuals that I have met on this journey. And I fully get it that I don't qualify for pioneer status in any way, shape, or form. So I bow to those of you whose children were diagnosed, talk about Temple Grandin. I really can't wait to meet her, and I don't know if I'm going to get the opportunity to meet her mother, but it's almost on the same par for me that I want to meet her mother too, because you want to talk about truly a pioneer. I was fortunate enough that when I came to this journey, there were a lot of things already in place. Now, a lot of things have changed in 7 years, and I'm so excited that that's the case, that there's been progress made. And so many of you, when I run into you, and I was talking the other day about being on the Autism Walk here in Los Angeles, and Nancy Allspaw-Jackson and I met a mom who introduced us to her son, who was 2.5 and had been doing ABA therapy already for months, and she'd gotten the diagnosis when he was 18 months. And we hugged her. We said, "You're the future." And that's a great, great thing. But my whole purpose in being here is to facilitate. If I can help you to find an answer, boy, that really gets me jazzed. And if I can help you to feel like somebody's listening and that you're supported and that you're doing a good job, because you are, oh, that just chokes me up. And you are not alone. If I had a nickel for every time in the first 3 years of our autism journey that I felt like I was alone, when in fact I wasn't, I just didn't know, I could pay for all of us to do ABA, right? That's how much money I would have if I had a nickel for every time I felt like I was alone. Okay, I'm already welled up. We're not even 10 minutes in on Monday. What's up with this? It's the hormones. Okay, we have a lot to do though here today. We're going to talk about the full gamut today. We do talk about ABA, applied behavior analysis, because it's the only scientifically proven effective treatment for autism, but it's not the only thing going on for our autism families, right? Most of us I hope that you're all moving towards getting your ABA, but most of us have other things going on as well that we're doing for our child to help them to reach their fullest potential. And we talk about the full gamut of that, as well as what it feels like on this journey, both for the individuals who are on the journey and have this spectrum diagnosis, but for the parents and the caretakers and the practitioners, because it would be crazy for us to think that this is not a journey that we share, right? We have thoughts and feelings and concerns and health issues and stress, and so we talk about the full gamut of that. So it's open season. Bring your questions along, but we're going to start with something that we start with every morning, the jargon of the day, the jargon du jour. This is when we take one word, one phrase, and we really hone in on it and try to figure out, what does this term mean? These terms get batted around, like hockey pucks when we're at meetings talking about our kids, and it's overwhelming. So we're trying to take it one little thing at a time, and I'm really proud that today we're taking on a term that we've never actually broken down before, and so we're really gonna break it down for you. But I think it's a thing whose time has come. I know I was very interested in this. So our term today, you ready for it? ADHD. What in the Hainani does this mean? So let's take a look at our actual definition, and I will warn you it's lengthy because we got the actual definition for you. Okay, very small print here, and Emily's going to screen it for us. So the essential features of ADHD: A persistent pattern of inattention and/or hyperactivity, impulsivity that is more frequently displayed and is more severe than is typically observed in individuals at comparable level of development. B, some hyperactive, impulsive, or inattentive symptoms must have been present before 7 years of age. C, some impairment from the symptoms must be present in at least 2 settings. So it's not enough if it's just at school, got to be 2 settings. D, there must be clear evidence of interference with developmentally appropriate social, academic, or occupational functioning. And E, the disturbance does not occur exclusively during the course of a pervasive developmental disorder, schizophrenia, or other psychotic disorders, and is not better accounted for by another mental disorder. Okay, so that's sort of our beginning there. But notice that there's a couple of things in there. So if your child might have symptoms of ADHD, but if it is more readily diagnosed as PDD, and autism would be included in that array, or PDD-NOS, or Asperger's, then the bigger diagnosis takes the precedence, right? So, but we do see that sometimes our kids who start out with a diagnosis of autism and then lose their diagnosis might be downgraded to ADHD. So let's take a look at what some of these different things are, because there are 3 different specific categories of ADHD. So the 3 subtypes: the first one, attention deficit / hyperactivity disorder, predominantly inattentive type. This subtype is used if 6 or more symptoms of inattention but fewer than 6 symptoms of hyperactivity, impulsivity. We're going to go through those symptoms in just a second, have persisted for at least 6 months. Notice that 6-month thing is always there, and of course they have to have occurred, we have to have seen evidence of them before the age of 7. Okay, second subtype, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, predominantly hyperactive, impulsive type. This subtype should be used if 6 or more symptoms of hyperactivity, impulsivity, but fewer than 6 of the inattention have persisted for at least 6 months. And then, of course, the third one, which is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder combined type. This subtype should be used if 6 or more symptoms of inattention and 6 or more symptoms of hyperactivity, impulsivity have persisted for at least 6 months. Now, if any of you have ever wondered, does your child have symptoms of ADHD? Do you have symptoms of ADHD? Let's break it down. All right, you ready? So we start with inattention. Now remember that those 3 categories, if you have the combined, there would be 6 from this category. If you have the inattention kind, there would be 6 or more from this category. Okay, A, often fails to give close attention to details or makes careless mistakes in schoolwork, work, or other activities. B, often has difficulty sustaining attention in tasks or play activity. C, often does not seem to listen when spoken to directly. D, often does not follow through on instructions and fails to finish schoolwork, chores, or other duties in the workplace, not due to oppositional behavior or failure to understand instructions. Okay? Continuing on, we move on to E, often has difficulty organizing tasks and activities. F, often avoids, dislikes, or is reluctant to engage in tasks that require sustained mental effort, such as schoolwork or homework. G, often loses things necessary for tasks or activities, for example, toys, school assignments, pencils, books, or tools. And H is often easily distracted by extraneous stimuli. And I is often forgetful in daily activities. Keep in mind that you might look at this and go, well, a couple of those describe me, but it's when we get upwards of 6 that we're looking at diagnosis. Okay, now moving on to hyperactivity. Let's look at what the list is there. Remember that you would want 6 or more from hyperactivity, and the next one, which escapes my memory. All right, we go. A, often fidgets with hands or feet or squirms in seat. B, often leaves seat in classroom or in other situations in which remaining seated is expected. C, often runs about or climbs excessively in the situations which it is inappropriate. In adolescents or adults, may be limited to subjective feelings of restlessness. So you may actually, not do it, but you feel restless constantly. D, often has difficulty playing or engaging in leisure activities quietly. And E is often on the go or often acts as if driven by a motor. And F, often talks excessively. Okay, there's where I am. On this. All right, and then our last category, the impulsivity. That's the one I couldn't remember. Remember that hyperactivity and impulsivity go together, so you'd only need combined at least 6 from the two together. So G, often blurts out answers before questions have been completed. H, often has difficulty awaiting turn. I, often interrupts or intrudes on others, for example, butts into conversations or games. So that's the impulsivity. So there's our actual definition of ADHD, and we always pare it down for you into a working definition. Our working definition is a neurobehavioral disorder characterized by either significant difficulties of inattention or hyperactivity and impulsiveness, or a combination of the two. So you've got that inattention, the hyperactivity, and the impulsivity. But the hyperactivity and impulsivity go together. The inattention is on the side. You may be somebody who has 1 or 2 symptoms of each thing, but it's really when we get upward of 6 in those 2 separate categories, inattention and hyperactivity and impulsivity together, that then you're looking at one of those 3 subtypes, either the combined or the individual, the inattention or the hyperactivity and impulsivity. That's when we're looking at ADHD. But again, if your child has a diagnosis, if they better qualify for PDD-NOS or autism or Asperger's, they will not be diagnosed with ADHD. The bigger diagnosis wins. That is our jargon for the day. I hope that illuminates for you a little bit about what this term means, ADHD. Okay, we always have a question of the day, and our question to you today is, what is your child's strongest social skill? What do they have going for them in the plus column is in terms of social? Are they interested in other people? Because that's a huge, 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 huge plus. Do they have that desire to connect? Sometimes they don't have the ability, but if the desire is there, boy, that's really a strong plus. I know for my son, that's a huge thing. He does have the desire to connect with other people, and he has an interest in knowing who they are. That did not exist a couple of years ago, but it is now. I've shared before on the show that when we go someplace and we're, in a store, he constantly, and this was not part of his ABA program, this was just something that he did. We told him to look for a name tag, that was a way to identify if somebody was working there, but we didn't tell them, read their name and address them by that. It just wasn't part of our ABA program. But he does this and takes great pride in it, and is very reinforced by the response that people get, that, there's one lady in particular, a very elderly lady who works at one of the big discount stores that we go to buy things in bulk. You know what I mean? She works the door and she marks off receipts. And when he was little, she would always do a happy face for him on the receipt. And sometimes, can I just be honest, I wanted to just go, could we not do this? Because there would be 1,000 people behind me and she would be having a conversation with my son and she would go, "What's your name?" And, he couldn't talk, and it was just, one of those moments. And I'd want to go, "Listen, lady," but over the years, she talk about opportunity, right? And I would always be patient and let her draw the little thing, and she would draw, hair on the smiley face. People are standing behind me, want to get to their car. They've already paid for their stuff. I just would go, "What are you doing?" But she really invested in him, and over the years, their interaction has changed. And now we'll get to the door, and she doesn't draw him a happy face anymore, but she'll be talking to him, and he'll say, "Hi, Dorothy, how are you today?" And she just just lights up. And now he started saying, boy, I really like your glasses, or complimenting something about her. Really great, strong social skill. And by the way, that just completely generalized. That was not a specific thing that he was taught to do, but he sees how she lights up when he says something, and she does. She says, oh, you like my glasses? And she is a very elderly. I don't know, at any moment, this lady has to retire. When you get to be, she has to be close to 90. I'm not kidding you. In any case, she's very sweet, and I'm glad that she continued to do what she was doing and didn't give up on my son. And I never gave up on him, but, you got the people behind you. In any case, I digress. I want to know from you guys, what is your child's strongest social skill? Let's talk about it. And if you're an individual on the spectrum, likewise, we want to know from you, what is your strongest social skill? Very interested in hearing about it. Now, we always have a topic of the day. Really, it's the topic of the week now. And our topic this week, if you couldn't guess from the question, is social skills. Really excited about that, and in particular, excited to have a chance to talk with Temple Grandin about this. I've been going back through my Temple Grandin books the last couple of days and reading up some of the different things that she talks about. And she's a big proponent of making sure that our kids have lots of opportunity for social skills. She talks about flexibility. She talks about making sure that kids are taught politeness, and that they're taught theory of mind, to take other people's perspective into consideration. So excited to have a chance to talk with her about it, but I really want to talk to you guys about it too. Can I tell you, I don't know why, as I started saying, I thought we had this under control because my son is social. What I had not counted on, just between you and I, is the fact that other kids get to a certain point, right around 3rd grade, I realize this now because my son's in 4th grade, where they turn into social pariahs, where they're not nice. They are just not nice people. And I don't want to teach that to my son, because I know it's just a phase that those kids go through, and that really they're going to have to grow out of it. And that by the time individuals are 20, if they haven't grown out of it, then they have the set of friends who are going to put up with them forever. I don't want to teach those skills to my son, but I have to teach him coping skills to get through the social pariah phase with the kids who are just nasty. Just really nasty and a little perverse, that they just enjoy being nasty. So, we've really had to hit the ground running again this year with social skills, and I'm really interested in talking more about this. Okay, some of the different things that we are going to talk about today. We have our stress tip of the day, of the week. It's Monday. So we always, and do you know, part of the reason why I like to do this on Monday, do you know the day that people have the most heart attacks? Monday. You would think that, Monday we all come back and we're refreshed because we had some time off, if you have a weekend and if your weekend starts on Monday. But more often than not, statistics show that people come back to work, and just the act of coming back to work is extra stressful. That we take something on Mondays that, we're looking at the whole week, we stack, that thing that they say about, oh, well, first I got to do this and then I got to do that, and then Tuesday this. So on Monday we take it all on. And by the way, the first day back from vacation also is when people have heart attacks. I think about the great Tim Russert, a journalist that I respected and adored and followed throughout his whole career, and I just thought that he was amazing, and came back from a vacation and died on a Monday. A very young man died of a heart attack. A lesson to all of us that Monday's a great day to talk about stress and to de-stress. So that's why we do that on Monday. Monday we also are doing ABA basics. That's, get back to basics. And part of that we're going to do is compliance today, because I promised that on Friday we didn't get to it. It's okay that we didn't get to it, because we had the fabulous Dr. Jonathan Tarbox with us here on Friday. And by the way, I want a programming note. Not only are we not going to have a show on Tuesday, but Dr. Tarbox won't be joining us this week because, of course, as we mentioned before on the show, he is going to be at the ABAI Autism Conference that is in Portland starting a little bit later this week. week. He will be presenting on Saturday. If you're a parent and you are anywhere near the Portland area, or you're able to get to the Portland area on this short notice, I really envy you, wish I was you, and want to hear about it, because I just know that it's going to be a great event. Again, that's ABAI. It is a autism conference, and there is a track that is specifically for parents. You lucky dogs if you can get there. And you can check out at abai.com and find out from them how you can go to that. All right, we are going to take a break. By the way, also, we're going to be showing today, and maybe we should just show it now, we're debuting a new Mission Possible. I don't know if you're familiar with these. They're clips that show individual children and their journey, because we watched a little bit of the inauguration this morning, and I was hearing the poet, I don't know what they call that, the poet that's, what is it called? The person that the poet laureate. Thank you, Emily. The poet laureate was giving their poem, and it's the youngest poet laureate ever to be chosen. And he was talking about hope, and it was very touching to me, because hope, of course, as an autism parent, you cling to hope, right? If you don't have hope, man, it's a dark, dark day. And Mission Possible is meant to do exactly that, is to give you hope, things to cling to. So if you're starting out on this journey, or if you're in the middle of the journey, wherever you are in the journey, that you take a look and see what's possible. We hear so much about what our kids can't do, but we don't get enough information from people about what our kids can do and what's possible. So Mission Possible, and we're debuting Ethan. So let's take a look at Ethan's story in Mission Possible.
Just go like this. Can you see me? Puedes mirarme aquí? Okay. Hi, I'm Rebecca Ishida. Say hi, Ethan. Hi. My son was diagnosed with autism in November 2004. With Ethan, almost immediately, we noticed things that were troublesome, that he just didn't sleep. He would vomit in the crib. There were a lot of sensory issues.
Then he'd have like 20 of the trains lined up, and if you came in and took one train out, just meltdown completely. Guttural instinct is to think that there's nothing wrong. Who wants to look at their child and go, there's something wrong with that child? You don't. You always want to see the best in your child.
Will my kid be able to go to school? Will he interact with his peers? Will he be able to have a healthy relationship? Will he get married? I really thought that autism was like a death sentence. A lot of hope was given to me through CARD. This was my third agency, and the best agency we had. And there was no way in the world I was going to give up CARD because of the gains I saw Ethan was having.
Ah, you did it!
And I remember when Doreen saw us for the evaluation, she says, but by the time he's 6, he will be recovered. And that's exactly what happened.
I'll fix that.
Okay, it's time to take on stress. Stress is something that we all feel, and we're all battling constantly, right? Whether we are doing it consciously or subconsciously. And I'm suggesting that we move it to the conscious level, and instead of burying our heads in the sand, say, look, it's a real part of this journey. If you are an individual on the spectrum, or if you are a parent of an individual on the spectrum, you are going to be feeling and experiencing a high level of stress. It just is what it is, okay? But there are things that we can do, and we talk about that from time to time. So today, our sort of watchword for stress is the phrase, not a word, physical release. How can we, because we can combat this mentally, and we do, but if we just try to do this mentally, it's not job done, right? We need some sort of physical release. And there are a lot of different things that we can do to release stress. We just were talking about ADHD, and we know that our kids will fidget, that we fidget sometimes. How many times have you, oh, I don't have a pen that clicks, but how many times have you been at a meeting with somebody who was clicking a pen, high-level executive, who's getting their life done, but they're needing that physical release, or the person who bounces their leg, or, you know, I have a friend who literally plays with her eyelashes. I can tell when she's gotten too tired or too stressed, her arm comes up over her head and she plays with her eyelashes. We all have things that we do to release stress. And a lot of times, again, they're subconscious, but we can consciously combat this by saying, here's what I'm going to do to physically reduce or release my stress. Some of you are great at the workout thing, and I want to be you when I grow up. It isn't necessarily my thing, although I'm working on that, on our goals. We've been working on the goals, right? But also, I mean, you know, it doesn't have to necessarily, when we're talking about release for stress, it doesn't necessarily have to be aerobic, although aerobic is very good. You get that blood pumping, you're moving things, hormones move out, reduction of stress, you're helping to strengthen your heart, right? But there are also things that are lower intensity. Going for a walk, stretching. Stretching is a great thing for the reduction of stress. I know sometimes I feel like after I've been in a stressful situation where I am like a block of wood, or the Tin Man, you know, the Tin Man when they come up to him and they gotta, you know, loosen the joints. I'm not somebody who flies well, and I've done a lot of flying in the last couple of months, and I literally, you know, you're packed into this small space and I'm stressed out. You know, I literally felt like I needed a great massage, which again is a physical release of letting that stuff go. Even doing deep breathing, as I said before, yoga, but any kind of breathing exercises. We've talked before on the show about the idea of taking 3 deep inhales and 3 slow exhales. And that, how long does that take? You know, is it a minute? Is it a minute and a half? But everything is better if we take 3 slow breaths and 3 slow exhales. By the way, there's lots of ways that you can have physical release for stress. Laughing is a great one. Sex, you know, there I said it, is another way that people can release stress. Of course, you want to do these things responsibly. There's a time and a place. You don't want to be laughing in the middle of a serious presentation that you're at if you're in business. And, you know, you want to pick how and when you're releasing, if you're doing that with sex, hopefully with your significant other, and taking necessary precautions. But there are great ways to physically release stress, and I want to encourage you today to ask yourself, we talked on Friday about the positive assumptive brain, the supercomputer that we all have. Instead of asking yourself questions that you're not going to like the answer, like, why can I never find the way to work out? And your brain is the positive assumptive supercomputer, and says you never work out because it makes you tired, or it hurts, or afterwards you're sore, right? It'll come up with an answer. Instead, ask your brain the positive assumptive question that you want, like, what could I do today to physically release stress? And your brain will come up with an answer. It always does. It fills in the blank. And what a great question to ask yourself. What can I do today to physically release stress? It may be a walk in a park. It may be doing a couple of stretches. It may be going to the gym. Or it may be grabbing your partner and saying, hey, let's spend some time together, not necessarily with clothes on. It could be a good thing. But again, responsible use of that. Be kind to yourself and help yourself to physically release the stress. It's not enough to just do it mentally. Okay, we're going to take a short break, and we're going to come back and talk a little bit about what today is and what it can mean to all of us. So stick with us.
Welcome back, everyone. It's the beginning of a new year, which means the possibilities for new beginnings and starting new traditions. So I figured for the month of January, we should make a calendar for our kids to use. The focus of this project will happen with your children after it's completed. All you need to do to make the calendar is to go to facebook.com/autismlive to download the template I've already made for you guys. And then the other materials you'll be needing are a scissors and some magnets, which is super easy to find at your local craft store. Once you have your printed templates and you have your magnets, all you have to do is just take the paper and then assemble it onto the magnet. It's super easy. And then cut out all the shapes. That part is a little bit more tedious, but once you have that done, you're gonna have a calendar that you can use all year round for years to come. So let's get to it. Why is this calendar so cool? Well, first thing, it's that everything is completely modular, like I said before. So you can have your kids practice naming the days of the week and putting them in order. You can even ask them questions like what month comes after January, for instance. Other things you can do with your child is having them, label the different seasons and then assigning the seasons to the correct months. So there's different ways you can use this based on your child's skill level. And what's cool about this calendar is as your child grows, so is the use value of this magnet calendar, because you can focus on more abstract things with your kid as they develop and work on simpler things with them when they first start working with it. And this is something you can always do every day of the week because the days change, right? So there's always an opportunity to visit the calendar and to use it in your daily lives. And these are just a few examples of the kind of activities you can do while playing with the magnet calendar. I hope you enjoy this activity, and I look forward to seeing you next month. Until then, craft on.
Can you see me flying by your side?
So today is the day we officially celebrate Martin Luther King's birthday. And for those of us in the United States, it's also the day today that we are having our president inaugurated for his second term. And one of the things the president did the other day was declared the 19th, the other day, the National Day of Service in honor of Martin Luther King. And I was really struck by this, and I got emails from lots of different organizations, one of them from Autism Care and Treatment Today, ACT Today, which the executive director of that is my good friend Nancy Alspaugh-Jackson. And we were asked to honor the spirit of Martin Luther King by taking some sort of action to do something for someone else. And it's something that we're going to be talking about a lot here on the show in the coming months, because when you can help someone else, it not only helps them, but it helps you as well. I know we've all experienced this at some time when just everything seems like it's crashing down on you, and life seems to be swirling around the toilet rim, right? And you don't know what to do, but given the opportunity to do something for someone else, I don't know why, but there's something about that that lifts us up, that propels us and makes us feel better. It's a thing that a truth that I hold very close to my heart. It's part of the reason why I'm here, because I know I want to be able to help somebody to have their journey through autism be at least a little bit easier than it was when we were going through it, because people did that for me. And when they did that for me, I said, why are you doing this for me? This means so much to me. And they said, because I feel better when I do this, and you will want to do this too. I do want to encourage all of us to exercise our abilities today, whatever your strengths are, to find some way that you can help someone, whether it be in honor of Martin Luther King or just in honor of your spirit and your time here on the planet to help someone else on this journey. Lots of different things that you can do. There are lots of different organizations that could use your help. For instance, ACT Today. And they gave a list of things that they would encourage people to do, whether it's donating or just using your social media to post something. We have a petition right now that we would love for you to sign, and you can go to our website, and there's a ribbon, an infinity ribbon at the bottom, and you can click on that and go and sign the petition. That helps all of our children. We want that level playing field of all children having access to ABA, and not just because you live in one state as opposed to the other. You can do a fundraiser. It can be as simple as, doing a lemonade stand and making $50. That $50 makes a difference in somebody's life. If that isn't something that you can do right now, and there were times and days when that was beyond my grasp as a parent, dealing with the things that I had to deal with, there is still something you can do for someone, even if it's just posting on a message board an answer to somebody else and saying, you don't have to have an answer, because sometimes there's not an answer, right? But just saying to that person, you know what, I heard what you said, I'm thinking about you. And if you're a person who believes in prayer, saying, and I'm praying for you. We all know how great it feels on this journey when we don't feel alone. So take the opportunity today. It is Martin Luther King Day, and hopefully, I'm not off today, but maybe you are. And if you are, take a few minutes, do something for somebody else, and then register how reinforcing it is to you, because I bet you're going to find that it's really reinforcing and something you're going to want to do more of. Martin Luther King Day, a great opportunity to find an excuse to do something nice for somebody else. All right, stick with us. We're going to be back, and we've got, next up is your responses to the question of the day. What social skills is your child good at? So stick with us.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Hey, welcome back to Autism Live. We heard you. Everybody wants
macaroni and cheese.
Yeah, but we're going to make it allergy-free. But here's what's the crazy part of this macaroni and cheese. It's actually healthy.
And it tastes good.
Yeah, it tastes really good.
That's the most important part.
So we're going to start. We got our water boiling. There's so many variations on the pasta. We're using today a corn pasta. We can verify with the manufacturer that we have a GMO-free product. So let's go ahead and put that in there. Ooh, and if you don't mind, stir that up for me, my friend.
Now it's sticking a little bit to the bottom.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
We maybe add a little more high heat oil and spread that around again. One thing you gotta know about gluten-free pasta, if you overcook this, it becomes mush. Let's move this guy over to the other burner so you can see what I'm doing. And now we're gonna start with the old macaroni and cheese sauce. What's great is there's a lot of choices for, different soups. And the way that I look at soups, and again, please follow the recipe on your screen right now. I don't like to measure very often. But what I like to use is a creamy butternut squash soup. So this soup is great because it adds a lot of flavor to the dish, but also gives people another serving of vegetables. With kids, we don't want to over season. Maybe with the adults, we can season some for the kids first, pull it out, serve them, and then add a little more, garlic powder or onion powder or other types of things into your dish. So the next most important thing on this recipe is we're going to add in a thickener and the faux cheese. Now some people like their sauce really thick, so you just add in more cornstarch or more arrowroot, so that's not a big deal. How's that doing? You think it's ready?
I think it's done.
Okay, so why don't we switch? I'll take that, you do that.
Okay.
And I'm going to strain this bad boy here. Here, let me turn that off.
Okay.
Or we're going to cause trouble again.
Trouble in Lisa's kitchen.
No,
that's another show.
Don't, right? So I'm going to go ahead and get this all strained. It's a good consistency. So I'm going to check to make sure our pasta is cooked. So really you just want to make sure, just like any pasta, it's a little bit squeezy, a little bit. Nice. Dude, good job.
Hey.
We're good.
Looks yummy.
So even though the cheese is not totally melted, it's okay. Don't panic. What's important is that you're going to love this recipe once you eat it. What I enjoy most about this recipe is that it smells good, but this stuff is amazing. So if you don't mind, I'm going to serve you some up, and you can maybe blow a little bit on it so you don't burn your mouth. Sorry, I'm once a mom, always a mom.
Just like we tell our kids.
I know, right?
Oh, but I can't wait. I'm excited.
So I'm going to give a shot of this too, but
oh my gosh, that is so good.
This is the ultimate comfort food. So
oh, it's so
isn't
good.
It good?
And I'm not just saying that. It is really good. It literally tastes like something our kids would really like, and that sweetness is really Really, really good.
So the bonus for us is that when we're serving this to our kids, they're actually getting a full serving of vegetables in this. So instead of just eating a bunch of carbs and worthless calories, you're actually getting some good stuff in this. And we'll be back next time. I hope you join us again here on Autism Live. We're really loving the feedback, and if you have additional feedback, here's how you get it to us. You can send it to us via email at autismlive@gmail.com. On Facebook, facebook.com/autismlive. And also there's thousands of recipes waiting for you to discover them with pictures and different things on the TACA website. So you can hit TACA on the web, tacanow.org, and we'll be back. Hopefully we'll get to do this again.
I had so much
Maybe
fun.
we'll have a little wine, but you got to join us next time. We'll look forward to seeing you then.
Bye, guys. We're going to keep eating.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Welcome back. It is time to talk about your answers to the question of the day. And before I do that, though, I wanted to take a second to talk about some of the different things that you guys have written in. I don't know why it's all gone away now. Everything that you guys wrote in is missing. Frustrating to me. Okay. Well, then I guess we'll start with the stuff on Facebook, and then we'll come back to it. I know somebody had written in and wanted to know if, I don't have access to the actual question, but somebody wanted to know if the Dr. Doreen, if it was the 16th, and it was. That was the date for the last Dr. Doreen. Somebody else had written in and said, have we thought about doing a show about transition from teenager to adulthood? And it's as though you read my mind. Because that's exactly, we have a bunch of shows and a bunch of experts planned to talk about specifically that. We're going to be really doing a fair amount of shows about that older age range of individuals, because it's a really important area that not enough information is available. I know that Nancy Allspaw Jackson and I, we have kids who are, her son just turned 10 and mine's going to turn 10, and we see it looming. And a lot of the experts that we've talked to, you know, there is stuff that we can be doing for our teenagers to make it easier for them, and that is the area of greatest need right now. So we're going to be covering a lot more about that all year long. So very, very excited about that. Okay, our question of the day, though, was talking about social skills and what is your child's area of strength in terms of their social skills. And so we've got a couple of comments here. Somebody wrote in that their child's particularly good at listening, which, my goodness, that's a great social skill. We talk a lot about the fact that you have expressive and receptive skills, you know, and there really can be at very different levels. But kids who can listen, let's face it, anybody who can listen, that's an amazing, amazing strength. And helps, honestly, with expressive skills later on. Sometimes we notice a child on the autism spectrum who has great receptive skills, really huge deficit in terms of expressive, but eventually that receptive, you know, I just think immediately the case of Carly Fleischman, who was not able to communicate on any level expressively. And the assumption, you know, I think at best people were saying, ooh, we don't know where her receptive language is, because it's very hard to test receptive language if you don't have expressive, right? And then so she was not writing, she did not appear to be reading, she definitely was not speaking, she was not gesturing, she was not signing, and then at the age of about 10, took a laptop computer away from a caregiver and said, typed out, "Teeth hurt, please help." That was some really strong receptive language going on there so that she got to the point where she could type out a message to somebody on a computer with no actual training to do that. So listening, a great skill. Somebody else said communication. Wow. Well, that's great, because communication to me means it's going both ways, which is really good. And somebody else wrote in and said, we love that you are focusing on strengths, not weaknesses. Well, we do. We will focus on a strength and say, let's really, but I'll tell you quite honestly that we're also going to look at where the weaknesses are too, because we want to shore that up. You know, when when you're sitting there and you're figuring out your budget for the month, right, you need to know how much money you have in your account, right? But if that's all you ever looked at, it would be job half done, right? Because you need to know what are the bills that you have to pay, right? What do you have working against that number so that you can get someplace productive? Likewise, though, if all you ever did was look at your bills and not look at how much money you had in, you may not get your bills paid. So we need to look at both sides of it. It's at least half of it to know what your child's area of strength are. Okay, let me look and see. I just want to see in terms of other comments that we have going on, because as we look at this throughout the week, hopefully we're going to be able to put together I'm just noticing some of the things that you guys have written in for me to talk to Temple Grandin about, which is absolutely fabulous. Okay, another person says that giving hugs to me when she sees that I'm upset, that's your child's strength for social skills. Absolutely wonderful. That's a great one. I mean, that's some perspective taking there, to be able to notice that you're upset, and then to be able to notice that their actions can do something to help it. That's a really high level executive function and cognition skills put together. And that, you're right, that is a huge, huge strength. Really remarkable. And hopefully you guys will keep writing in your responses to that, because all of our kids have strengths in terms of social. We just have to seek them out sometimes. All right, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to take on ABA Basics Antecedent Modification. What this means, how we do it, and how it makes our whole life run better. Antecedent modification when we come back. Stick with us.
Skills is an online program that provides assessment, curriculum, positive behavior support planning for challenging behavior, and progress tracking, and it does this all in one place. The skills assessment and curriculum addresses 8 areas of development, which even includes advanced higher level areas such as executive functions and cognition, which pretty much makes skills the only ABA-based set of curricula for teaching more complex skills, things like problem solving, planning, self-management, perspective taking, and even inferring and predicting others' private events. Skills is a 4-step system. Step 1 is to add the child to your account. Step 2 is to start assessment. The skills assessment is the only ABA-based assessment with psychometric research demonstrating the language subscale to have excellent reliability. Every area of human functioning and typical child development from infancy to adolescence was researched, making the skills assessment the most comprehensive of its kind in the world, and we're quite proud of that.
Skills is easy to use. Simply click Start Assessment and begin answering questions. Or simply type in a keyword, find specific activities to assess, and add activities to treatment. Step 3. Choose activities. Once you've completed the assessment, Skills selects from a pool of 4,000 activities categorized by age, level, and skill type to provide you with exactly those activities each child needs. Start by choosing a curriculum, then a lesson, and finally an activity. Click the information icon to view prerequisites, ages in which targets develop, examples, and IEP goals. Click the video icon to watch a short video. Once you've identified an activity you want to teach, adding activities to treatment is a snap. Step 4. Start treatment. Here you can access customizable activity lesson details, add your own customized targets and exemplars, and edit an activity status such as introducing or mastering it. You can even print handouts such as worksheets, tracking forms, visual aids, and other materials. Skills also offers multiple progress charts mapping curriculum progress, lesson progress, and cumulative number of activities and targets mastered over time. The Skills language curriculum is categorized by verbal behavior type so that users can identify progress for verbal operants, such as echoics, mans, tax, and interverbals.
Skills is one of the only programs that provides the ability to write behavior intervention plans, or BIPs, for challenging behavior.
With just a few clicks, the outline of the behavior intervention plan is written for you and ready to be printed and implemented.
You can learn more about Skills today and get started by visiting us at www.skillsforautism.com, or you can call us at 877-975-4559. Skills. Progress starts here.
Welcome back. We talk about tools and about having a tool belt so that you can work with your child and help them to reach their fullest potential, but also it's true for us as well. How can we reach our fullest potential? Well, today we're going to talk about antecedent modification. This is just one of the tools that we can put in our tool belt, and when you start to think in terms of antecedent modifications, boy, it opens up a whole new world of possibilities. All right, refresher course. We're talking about the ABCs of behavior, right? What's an antecedent? Remember those ABCs? For every behavior, there is an A. That's the antecedent. It's the thing that happens before the behavior. Then there's the B, which is the behavior itself. And then there's the C, the consequence. Another time we'll talk about consequence modification. But if we talk about the A, what happened right before and what can we change? This is a place of complete and total power. A lot of times we don't have, once a behavior starts, right, it's really difficult to take control of another person's behavior. In fact, it's next to impossible in most cases, even with a small child. If the child is screaming, what are you going to do, right? But there are lots of things that we can do beforehand that we can head things off at the pass. So ask yourself, what issue are you having with your child? Really important to know the function of the behavior, and I really advocate that you get an expert to come in and see the function of the behavior so you don't waste time. But imagine that you do have a child who's screaming. And a child who screams in the same circumstance over and over and over again. And there was one parent who wrote to me and said that her child was screaming when they would be in the car. They'd be driving down the road and it would just come out of nowhere. It would happen almost every time she would drive on the freeway, but at a different time on the freeway. So it would catch her. Imagine you're trying to drive and your child's screaming in the back seat. I know for some of you, you don't have to imagine it, right? So think about that individual problem, and what she needed to do was find the function of the behavior, because until we know why the child is screaming, we're basically just throwing darts at a wall and hoping that something sticks, right? But an expert can take a look and say, okay, well, the child is screaming because when trees are going by, when you're on the freeway and trees are going by at a certain time of day, that it's almost like a strobe light, right? That light is flashing through and there's a sensory issue. Well, if we know that, there are things that we can do. There's an antecedent modification that we can do that will help that child. Maybe a pair of sunglasses, you know those old-fashioned sunglasses that even have the thing on the side that would help to dim that a little bit so that it's not this sensory nightmare for the child. You know, maybe distracting the child at looking at something else, making sure that they have a video player. Maybe it's a child that we could talk to about that and say, you know, what that is the light coming through the trees, and I want you to close your eyes when you feel that. You don't need to scream, and you can tell me it's happening. You know, all these different things that might be appropriate if that is the particular function of the behavior. It could be that the function of the behavior was something entirely different and that the child was experiencing, you know, a need to want his mother, and he's separated from her in the back seat, and after they go a certain distance, he's yelling and he's trying to convey, I want access to you, right? And if we know that that's the function of the behavior, then giving the child something to hold on to that is from mom. You know, I can remember with very small baby in the back seat that, you know, the baby was crying and we gave the child the binky, right? But there are other things that we can give our child that are more age appropriate that they can soothe themselves with until we can get back to being attention with them. And we can't while we're driving the car, right? So thinking about what can I do beforehand? If your child is having a tantrum in the grocery store aisle, thinking, can I give my child something before we get to the grocery store aisle, the checkout, to distract them? Can I tell them a social story about being in the checkout and let them know what's going to happen and what the expectations are? And I can go over this many, many times. Can I start a token economy and say, give the expectation, we're going to go into the store, and when we go through, I've got this little sticker chart, or you can have it on your phone. They have free ones that you can download on your smartphones, a token economy, So when we go through for every minute that you are well behaved and stay quiet in the cart, I'm going to push a button and you're going to get a smiley face. And if you get 4 of them, then I'm going to give you access to something, or I'm going to give you a cookie, or we're going to go through the drive-through of this, whatever it is, that there's a reward if you get a certain number of tokens. For older kids, sometimes we have to go to cost response, that it's always easier, and always try to work for reward first, but we can also do cost response, that you start with 4 tokens, and if there's any behavior, I'm going to give you 4 chances, and if there's behavior that is not appropriate, I'm going to touch the button, and if when we get out of the grocery store, if you have 1 token left, then I'm going to give you a reward, right? But if I don't, then you lose access to that. Lots of different things that we can do, and of course we talk from time to time about EOs. That setting up a circumstance for our child that leads them to success, making sure that if we take a look at and see a child who is, and by the way, EO stands for establishing operation, if the child is tired or hungry, that we're more likely to see the behavior. So we want to make sure that if when we go through that checkout, say that the child is more likely to tantrum and want candy if they are hungry or tired, then we would make sure that that child had a whole bunch to eat before we went through the checkout lane, so that they're not feeling already hungry and wanting something else. So if we think about that before, it's not the only thing we can do, and another day we'll talk about consequence modification, but thinking about what can we do before that could change the dynamic of this. It's a powerful, powerful tool. We call it antecedent modification, changing that moment before. We have so much control when we stop to think about it. It's a great tool. Start to use it with your life. We're going to take a break. Oh, we're not going to take a break. We're going to go to the A word. This is the wonderful documentary that's being made by the Center for Autism and Related Disorders, an ongoing series following a little boy, Jack Riley, who was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2, and he's now, in real time, he's now 4 years old. But we're watching towards the beginning of the series, seeing what happens when this family starts early intensive ABA with this very young child, to see the change, to see the arc of ABA. I want to remind all of you who are watching, if you have a child that's older, these aren't the lessons that would be done with your child. But the idea of how we teach is the same. Reinforcement, setting up specific circumstances, giving plenty of opportunity to learn it, and reinforcing, rewarding the individual when they get it right. So we're setting them up for success. And it doesn't matter how old you are, or if you're on the autism spectrum, we know this works. Science has been shown that this is a really effective teaching tool, even when somebody is having to combat something else. So take a look. This is the A word.
Jack, hi.
Hi.
What are you doing? What are you doing, Jack? Say, I'm playing. Or I'm watching.
What?
You're watching. Are you watching me? What's this?
No.
What's this? What are these? What are these, Jack?
Eyes.
What is this? Are you looking? Jack, Riley, what's this? What is it?
No.
Yeah? So Suzanne, we actually have 3 new programs in his logbook. They are actions, body parts, and categories.
I noticed there's a notebook with pictures of Ellie. Is that part of it?
Oh no, that's actually, it's something really cool. Did you want to see it?
Sure.
It's something that his mom made, I think, before he started talking. So what it is it's just things that are in his environment that his mom cleverly made, which is really cool. It has like different foods that he eats, and I guess she did her own kind of, can you point to the dog? What does it say? Kind of like her own kind of discrimination training, I guess, for him. Body parts. It's a really cute little book that she made. And he can label all of them, huh? What are these? What are these? Feet. What are these? Right here.
Toes.
Very good. All right, Jack. So we're going to be doing actions. We're math trying waving in a field of 2 with an unknown, just to see if he can discriminate between the 2. Give me waving. Good job. What is it?
Waving.
Waving. Very good. Good job, Jack Riley.
Jessica points at the correct answer after Jack Riley motions to the incorrect picture to ensure he answers correctly. This is called errorless learning. The reason we do this is that the more opportunities he has to practice the right behavior and be rewarded, the quicker he will learn it and succeed. It's positive reinforcement. Think of it like this. If you were constantly being told what you were doing was wrong and weren't offered help, you'd become frustrated and give up. But if you were assisted, you'd keep trying and eventually succeed independently.
Give me waving. Yay! What is it?
Waving.
Perfect. Very good. You get all your stickers. Then what do you get?
Whoa.
Perfect. Nice job. There you go. So the next one we're going to do is body part, and he is on mouth. So the SD is what is it, and we point to the body part on his own body, and he has to be able to label it. And he's been saying nose with me, because I guess it's close proximity, but we'll see if you know it today, mister. What is it?
Nose.
Say mouth.
Mouth.
Good. What is it?
Mouth.
Very good. There you go. There's one sticker. Okay. Ready? Look at me.
Walk.
Good job. Okay. What is it? Say mouth.
Mouth.
Good. What is it?
Mouth.
Nice job. Oops. Okay. Ready? One more sticker, okay? Okay. Hey, put your arms down, Rockstar. Thank you. What is it?
Mouth.
Yay! All right, high five. All right. You got your 3 stickers. There you go. What do you want?
Whoa.
Say, I want phone.
Go.
Good job. Here you go. And with the receptive labels that we've been working on with him, he knows so many labels now. What's that? Say bear.
Bear.
What is it? What is it? What's this?
Tackle.
What's this?
Fire.
What is this?
Your book.
That we've moved into categories. We're having him give us the picture of the category and having him label it as whatever category pertains to, like the food. Give me food. I did, yeah. We say like 1.5. Where's the food? Good job. What is it? Food. Very good. Nice job. Give me food.
Soup. What? Food.
Okay, give me food. What is it?
Food.
Food. Good job.
Horse.
Okay. Oh, look, Jack Riley, look. Oh, I'm going in the garage. You want to go inside with me? Come on. Let's go inside. You want to go inside? Go inside. Whee! I'm here. Woo! Ready? There he goes. Say, let's go.
Let's go.
All right.
Jessica and Jack Riley are playing together so he can practice how to appropriately play with toys.
Are you all done, cars? Or you want more?
All done.
All done. Okay. All right. That's okay.
All done. Walk.
Okay. All done blocks too? Okay. All right. Here, Jack Riley. Let's go for a walk. Sit down. Okay. Ready to go for a walk?
Yes.
Okay. Say, let's go.
Let's go.
Say, let's go, Suzanne.
Let's go, Mr. Chen.
Okay. She will come with us.
Coming.
Say, come on, Mom.
Come on, Mom.
I'm coming. I'm coming.
Last week during clinic, Cheryl and Mike brought up how outings had been difficult with Jack Riley not complying with stop or refusing to walk. Sabrina, their supervisor, suggested that they practice this skill with a therapist at least once a week until the problem behavior becomes better.
You can practice spell off in the way.
Okay, let's go.
Stop.
Yay! Good job. Stop. Stop. Come back. Yay! Thank you.
Let's go. This way. Jack, Jack.
What do you see? What do you see?
Wow, we found a daddy on our walk. Hey, neighbors.
This is one of my favorite episodes, and I'll tell you why. Because it's one of the longer ones. They've started making them shorter because apparently we all have really short attention spans. But I really love these longer ones because it shows all the different things, not really all, but more of the different things that he's working on at a given time. Now, and this particular episode, when I was watching it through the first time, I went, this is the moment where we really see that he's starting to catch up. That there are a lot of things that this little boy does in this video that you go, wow, you know, that looks almost age appropriate to me. And what happens then is that people start to, even us, start to think, wow, I don't know, maybe he didn't have autism, right? It's the thing that everybody else says. Go back, watch the first. I love that about this series. Go back and watch the first video. This child had autism. Still has autism, but he's catching up. This is the beauty of ABA. This is exactly how a child catches up. Okay, a lot of different things that I want to talk about, and we're not going to talk about all of them today because we'll talk about it throughout the week. But I want to talk about spoon feeding language. Do you know what I mean by that? It's something that we do with neurotypical kids all the time when they're little, that, you know, we'll hold up a cookie and say to them, I want the cookie, to a neurotypical child. Or I remember on the very first day that my child was born, one of my very best friends came to the hospital to see him, to wonder at this beautiful child that came, and she looked at him and she said, say oscillating sprinkler, and we all laughed hysterically, right? Because it's hilarious to think, but you know, people say to kids all the time, say mama, say dada, say I want to make $1 million, right? And sometimes it's funny and sometimes it's functional, but we say it. We spoon feed language. The thing about it is that with neurotypical kids, we stop it by a certain point, usually when they're in the whole tantruming phase, right when they need it the most, right? But in any case, we're not saying it to a 5-year-old or an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old, right? Where we can and should and do to a child on the autism spectrum, we spoon feed that language. Yep, it feels weird, it feels different, it feels counterintuitive, we still need to do it. And if you think about it, it's not that unusual. We do that with ourselves, we do that with our friends. I was in a conversation not too long ago with a friend of mine, and we were talking about the inability to say no, how just sometimes it's so hard to say no to people. Somebody says, you know, can you do this? And you really want to say, no, I can't, but it's hard to say. And I was saying that I have a niece who has this brilliant phrase that she came up with that then I wrote down on an index card and I practiced saying it. And it's, I'm sorry, that won't be possible. So that when somebody asks me something and I can't say no, I can say, I'm sorry, that won't be possible. It's the same as saying no, but it's a phrase that I have now rehearsed. And I was telling this to a friend and they went, I got to write that down. I got to write that down. We do practice phrases and we pick up phrases from other people that help us to cope in social situations. Why can't we do that with a child on the autism spectrum? We need to, in fact. The other day, I mean, we've spoon-fed all kinds of language to my son when he wasn't speaking and he began to speak. But there are still times that, oddly enough, because I do too, have difficulty figuring out what to say in certain circumstances. And I experienced this with him the last couple of weeks, that he, especially because, you know, one of the things that he got for Christmas, we got him an iPad. We bought one that was used so that it would be more cost effective. And it's a lovely thing. And I have apps to share firsthand knowledge now. But one of the things that I've noticed is that it's so attention grabbing that me getting his attention sometimes, there have been several times that I've asked him a question and he hasn't responded. And I said to him recently, you can't do that. That's not fair. You need to be able to say something. And he said, well, I don't know what to say because I'm thinking and I'm still in the game and I want to ask you to give me a minute, but I don't know what to say. And when he was little, we taught him the phrase of saying, can I have a minute, right? And I said to him, you can say, it's just rude to say nothing, but you can say to me, Mom, just a second, I'm thinking. And that applied. And he then said, can I say that when you ask me a question and I don't have the answer right away? Can I say it then too? And I hugged him. I was like, yes, that's exactly when you want to say that. So spoon feed language, no matter what age your child is, give them the language that's appropriate so that it gives them an opportunity. They're not going to get stuck like a robot just saying that. I know that's what all of our fear is, but spoon feed language, you'll see that it'll morph and it'll change, especially if you do it often enough. Also, the book that they showed that the mom made, which is a great, great thing. I am a big fan of, you have a digital camera in all likelihood, and you don't have to go buy flashcards. We bought flashcards when he was first diagnosed with autism, and some of them for the categories for labels we used and used and used and used. But when it got to actions, we went and bought some very expensive flashcards that were of no use to us whatsoever. And that's when our supervisor said, go take pictures. And I just happened to this weekend, because I'm trying to take care of that office space in my house that's such a mess, little by little, chunking it up, right? And so I was going through pictures, and I made it reinforcing for myself because I had frames that were empty that I want to hang, and so I was going through pictures, and I found all of the duplicates that we had taken. It was a very emotional night that a friend of mine was going through a difficult thing because, we have autism, but things keep happening, and a really good friend of mine was diagnosed with cancer, and it, just really caught all of our breath. And she said, can you come over to my house? Can you be at my house tonight? I need you. My kids need you. My husband needs you. And so my husband and my child and I went over to their house. It was right around Halloween, and I had a box that was those haunted house things that you build, the gingerbread house with all the candies and everything. And we said, we'll have the kids do that as a distraction. And I remember her saying, I hate to make you come over. I said, actually, can I take pictures of your family and your kids while I'm there? It would be a favor to me. And she said, yes, if you can get something out of this, because they had asked us to take pictures of actions. So what we did all night, we were working on the gingerbread house, but we said to the kids and the adults, all right, we have to find a way to get a picture of drinking. What does that look like? And it became this event between the two families, and the pictures are hilarious. And there's something about, I can remember months that we used those pictures that had helped my child to understand action. And I look at the pictures, and I remember as a mom all the time that we used those pictures and how he really learned. But I also remember the night that they happened and how poignant that we took something that was, and turned it into a positive that was useful. And they're fun pictures to look at now to see when the kids were all little, and some of them are silly. Like, we would do 4 different versions of knocking. So the picture we had to take was knocking, and one of the kids would do this, and another person did this, and, different places around the house. It was really a very poignant evening. But take pictures. Different kids need different things. And, there are books, there's children's books that are really baby books that are called first word books, and they have pictures of things. That's great. But for some of our kids are too old, and it doesn't mean anything to them because it's other people's feet. Whereas if you took a picture of their feet and you took a picture of their friends' feet, then it has some meaning to them. So take pictures, make your own stimuli, have some fun with it, make other people get involved with it, make your kids be involved with it, their kids on the spectrum, your kids not on the spectrum, because it's a really useful thing, and it'll be, I promise you, beneficial and a good memory. Okay, a bunch I want to talk about errorless learning, but let's save that for Thursday that we'll talk about it, and the whole when we give reinforcement. But I want to remind you, watch this series, The A Word. There's so much to learn. Oh, it's just I love it. It's addictive to me. And getting to see this child make real progress. Very fun. So The A Word, watch them on their channel. All right, we are going to take a break, and I'm just checking my cheat sheet here. We are coming back to talk about a compliance tip that's really fun, so stick with us.
Every child with autism deserves a bright future.
Without further clarification, the Affordable Care Act could actually result in less benefits for individuals with autism spectrum disorders.
We urge Catherine Sebelius to clarify the Affordable Health Care Act.
She can make one change, one little minor change, to make applied behavioral analysis be part of the health care plan.
By signing this petition, you are protecting the health care benefits of individuals with autism spectrum disorders. We need to make sure
that we are heard
and seen.
Sign a petition at autism-live.com.
Here's how you can show your infinite support. Create your own infinity ribbon. What you're gonna do is take a ribbon that's been cut about 8 inches long, and you're gonna grab one end and then twist it, and then take the two ends and join them together, and then take this together. And then I'm gonna flip it around and take another piece of tape. And what I have is double-sided sticky tape. Squeeze down. You have your very own infinity ribbon.
With ABA,
the possibilities are infinite.
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 With ABA,
the possibilities are infinite. Every day we like to give you something to use at home that can make your life better. And I mean everybody's life better. Something that's useful, something that you can do today. You don't have to go out and buy anything to be able to do it, but something that could really turn the day around. And compliance can always turn the day around, right? When you look at it and say, is today a good day or a bad day? I guarantee you if your child is compliant, it's a much better day than a day when your child is not compliant at all, right? So how do we get compliance, and how can we get it today? How can we get it in the next 5 minutes? How can you lift your mood? How can you lift your child's mood? How can you turn the bus around? Catch them doing something good. And by the way, this isn't just for our kids. This is for all of our relationships, including our relationship with ourselves. Catch everyone doing something good. You having issues with your significant other and you want to change the dynamic that's happening right now, catch them doing something good. What do we mean by that? It's so easy in life to look and see all the things that are driving you crazy. Like, for instance, your husband empties the dishwasher and you look at it and go, why does he have to put the dishes in this way when I've told him before, right? How many of us have ever done that, right? Guilty as charged. Instead of saying, hey, thanks for unloading the dishwasher. Oh, that was so sweet. That was so great, right? I know. You know, it's hard. Sometimes it's like trying to, get money out of a miser. It's just really, really hard to get the praise out there. But, try it. I dare you. I challenge you to try it. And again, try it with your child on the spectrum. Try it with all the people in your relationship. Try it with your boss. Try it with your mailman. And see what happens, because there's a shift that happens when you catch somebody doing something good and you say, hey, that was really spectacular. It changes how they move and breathe and perceive you, and it changes what you focus on. And we could all have a nose, focus on the negative and what's not happening. But when we get into the mindset of focusing on what is happening, we will see a shift. We talk a lot on this show about positive reinforcement and making sure that there's lots of it. The best way to get a child to be compliant is to show them that being compliant is worthwhile. And we can do that by catching them do something good. I don't know if you're on Pinterest. I love Pinterest. I admit to being addicted to it. And recently, there are a lot of great things on Pinterest for those of us who have children on the autism spectrum. And somebody had made a goldfish bowl and said, catch them doing something good. And it was a technique for them that if they catch, and you can use it in a classroom if you're a teacher, you can use it at home, you catch somebody doing something good and you put a piece of paper in, or you can put a marble in or whatever, and when it's full, there's some additional big reward. But I think just the idea of having the jar reminds us that this is what we need to be focusing on every day. It's not the easiest thing to do, but truly, if you'd like to change your day today, catch somebody doing something good and then write to us and let us know what happened afterwards and how your day changed. I guarantee you it's something for the positive. Catch them doing something good. It's our compliance tip for the week. All right, we're going to take a break and we're going to be back with more information of how we can help our children, in particular with challenging behavior. So stick with us.
When you find out you're having a boy, you always think like, oh, he's going to play football, he's going to do this and that. And then when he's diagnosed, all those things get washed away.
It's like that piece that's always in the back of your mind, you know, where is he, what is he doing, is he safe?
We really didn't know what we were dealing with. I wish that they could have directed me a little bit more and provided me some information.
I was a young mom. I didn't know what it was like to raise a boy, despite a boy with autism.
Hundreds of thousands of families are not getting the help they need for their children with autism all around the country. ACT Today is determined to bridge the gap. These families really have to go through a lot to get a grant. The application process isn't easy. The records, the diagnosis proof, they're really battling for their kids. So when we can give them a grant, it is so wonderful to see that they succeed in getting that help for their children. Our founder, Dr. Doreen Graham-Pichet, is an amazing woman, and she is one of the world's foremost authority on behavior of children with autism. She's extremely knowledgeable, and she oversees every single grant we give. She is part of that process. People may think of autism care and treatment as simply schooling or therapy, but we provide important safety supports, things like fencing, for example. The whole family's living in fear of that child running out into traffic. I recently delivered an iPad to a little boy with some of the apps that are out there for children with autism. Miracles happen.
I got the iPad from ACT.
From ACT,
What
yeah.
did it say? Can you repeat that, Dustin?
I got the iPad from ACT.
We have helped so many military families, and when I think of these brave families that are fighting two battles, one to protect our country and one for the right treatment and care for their children, it breaks my heart, and I think we have to do more as a nation to help them.
There's not a day that doesn't go by that we don't think about it. Some people say, oh, he's normal. You don't see the battles that I see every single day. My husband does have to deploy, and when they get on that bus, that might be the last time that my kids ever see them.
So I called, and they informed me that he had received the grant, which was like a blessing from above. I was just like speechless. I just started to cry because, without it, we would have been lost.
The ACT grant was a total miracle, and without that, they wouldn't be able to receive the service dog. So we're so appreciative what they've done for us as a family.
Recently, ACT Today funded a program for military children with autism in San Diego, the Inclusion Films program, which is run by Joey Travolta and teaches kids on the autism spectrum literal filmmaking skills. They learn how to make a movie.
Are we ready? There you go, got it. Okay.
Everything that goes into the process of making a film goes into everyday life. So they're learning life skills, they're learning to collaborate.
It was really nice to know how much they were enjoying this camp.
and they're with people who are supporting them and are making them feel great about themselves and their differences and their similarities. And I get 2 kids that are working together and apart and together and apart, so it's an interrelationship as well as a camp and a learning experience.
It's so fulfilling when I get letters. One stands out for me, a boy who was 14 with Asperger's, and we gave him a grant to go to a drama camp. He wrote to us and said, "Dear Act Today, thank you for letting me belong for the first time in my life." These kids are remarkable. You know, we underestimate them. They're so knowledgeable, they're so capable, and we can change the life of a family, which means changing the life of a community.
Welcome back. As I've mentioned before on the show is meant to be interactive, and we always appreciate your comments and suggestions and questions, and we'll take time to answer them. And somebody had just posted that they are the queen of the index card for flashcards. I gotta say, I love that, you know, because it's really important that we find the stimuli that works for our kids, right? And a lot of times we're not going to find that on the commercial market, or it's going to be so not cost effective that you have to buy, you know, for one card you have to buy $50 worth of flashcards, and no, I'm not kidding. So what a great thing. I would rather spend, as a parent, $80 to get a decent digital camera, be able to take pictures and have the memories of taking the pictures and have the investment to be able to get the flashcards than spend the $50 for the flashcards. And by the way, you know, I mean, you really can get a good digital camera for $80 now, and you can get one, a used one, for even less than that. I'm big on the thrift thing. Make sure that you get one that easily uploads pictures so that you can do a 1-hour photo situation, because from time to time you are going to be asked to, or you're going to see the need to get 1 or 2 pictures, and even if they're 19 cents a copy, to be able to get done for less than 50 cents when you need 2 pictures, you want it to be really easy to do that. And there are all kinds of places that you can upload the pictures from home now and then go pick the pictures up or have them shipped to you. But you want to make sure that the camera does that really easily. And not that they sponsor us, but I will say I've had the opportunity and have family members and friends who use lots of different cameras, and I'm a big fan of Kodak. Their ability to share pictures and to be able to upload them, and they classify them and date them. It's very user-friendly, I have to say. So, and very cost-effective cameras that are perfect if you're on a budget. Their Kodak, an unsolicited endorsement. In any case, good for you. I'm a big fan too of buying index cards when they're on sale, usually like September and October after the big back to school rush. I go and stock up on school supplies and get myself a bunch of index cards, because sometimes you just need to draw something on them. And I love to have card stock around the house, because you never know what you're going to need it for, right? In any case, I also wanted to bring up, somebody had written us in a couple of different places, and I'm going to ask Dr. Dorian Grandpichet this question on Wednesday to get some input from her, but I don't want to leave it until then. And the question's been asked in a couple of different ways. Someone who has a young daughter on the spectrum who they have not been able to get her assessed yet. So there's a lot of different questions in here. The first part, that you have an appointment at the end of February for an assessment, according to this, but that you've also looked into other areas because you're outside of a major metropolitan area, and that you have an appointment in a major metropolitan area, but that's not until April. So the earliest one's in February, then another one in April. The question is there any recommendation that you can give to me to expedite this assessment? Okay, let's start with that, and then there's additional questions further on. The thing with assessments is that there can be a lengthy wait to get one. It's a really difficult thing. Don't kid yourself, it is the hardest period of time in this journey. I really do believe that. When you're waiting, when you already feel in your gut that there's something going on, and you wouldn't have signed up for an assessment if you didn't, and then this sort of waiting game that happens when everybody around you is telling you it's important now, and then you have to sit and wait. It's cruel beyond cruel as a parent. There are some places that have gotten better at getting you in sooner and getting the report back to you sooner. There are a lot of places that are still struggling, and depending where you are in the world, it sounds like you're in a place where they're still struggling. A couple of things I want to bring up to you. You know, there are a couple of websites and a couple of reference places that are particularly good if you want to shop around. I want to encourage you to use your time well. That if you call 4 or 5 places and you're getting the same answer, then it's likely that that's the time period that it takes in your area. But I would encourage you to see if there is a TACA group in your area and ask them, where can I get a really good quality, I don't want it just to be quick, a good quality assessment, and I don't want to have to wait 6 weeks to get in for the appointment. By the way, something that you want to tack on to the end of that question is, and who gets the report back in under 3 months? Because sometimes you get your child assessed and then you have to sit on your hands and wait for another 3 months. Even a good reputable place, it's going to take them, 3 weeks at the minimum. So get your gut ready for that there's another waiting period coming on top of that. But ask your local TACA group. You can also go on BACB.com and find out who the BCBAs are in your area, and if any, if there's anybody that they recommend for assessments. That's usually a good place to start and look for recommendations for assessment. And also, there are, like Autism Speaks has, you can go in and put the state and the zip code, and it'll tell you who the practitioners are. Be wary of the fact that it just lists everyone. It's not going to say, oh, and we recommend. I know I went on to look the other day to see what the recommendations were in your area, and one of the resources that was listed was one of those study group places that's chain, I won't say the name of it, but all over the country, as saying that, they are great with working with kids on the autism spectrum. So just know that you're going to get the full gamut there, and that you got to weed through and say, is this appropriate for my kid? Is this not appropriate for my kid? And then the big question is, are you willing to travel further outside your circle of because I can tell you that it's very likely, if you were willing to travel, if you're in a huge hurry, I know, for instance, here at the headquarters for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders, that there's usually, they try to get people in for assessment within a 2-week time period, and they have set very stringent guidelines for themselves that they get the reports back to people as quickly as possible in under a month. But, that's still a little bit of a waiting period too. So, and it may be that you say on your priority list in terms of your time, okay, I have an appointment at the end of February, I'm going to deal with that, and I'm going to move on to the next part of your question, which is, in the meantime, and this is what you wrote, in the meantime, I will start doing ABA myself. You've already figured this out, and I applaud you. And your question was, I'm very interested in the skills assessment and framework. However, before committing spending $1,000, I would appreciate your opinion on whether I get funding for this from any other source. Shannon, I'm very inspired. Thank you, and compliment. And you gave me a great, because I've been using the wrong word. I'm queen of the malaprop, that I've been using anagram when I needed to be saying acronyms. Thank you. I said it for probably a year, and the first couple of months I was like, I think that might be wrong in the back of my head, but I'm queen of the malaprop. So thank you so much. I have that written down, so I'm not going to get it wrong anymore. Thank you. Because I wasn't intentionally doing it wrong. Okay, let's talk about skills and this idea of spending $1,000. First of all, I want to say to you that no one and I'm saying this as a parent now, that as you look at all these apps and things that are available, I would encourage you not to buy anything until you've tried it out. And no one needs to do any sort of buying of skills until you've tried it out. You get a 14-day free full membership. You do have to register with a credit card to do that, and on the 15th day they will charge your credit card if you don't cancel it. If you don't want to put a credit card down, and I know there are some times when I don't want to do that. I'm afraid that I won't cancel it, so on and so forth. You can register without a credit card to get a 14-day free trial. You just won't have access to the full thing, but you can get a good idea from it. They call it Skills Light. So I would encourage you not to rush out and do anything and start there. The other thing that I would say to you is that there are lots of different programs that are available for skills. It is a subscription so that you can do it monthly, or you can buy 6 months at a time, or you can buy a year at a time. And I would encourage you, and I'm sure that the skills people would not appreciate this from me, but I wouldn't pay for the year, and I think what you're quoting is either the year or the 2-year. I would start out and pay for a month at a time. Yeah, you can save some money, but at any point you can say, hey, I want to prepay for a year and save the money once you see how you're going to use it. Now, having said that, do I think you're going to use it? I think if you spend some time on it and look at it and get into it, you will want to. I use Skills and I'm their biggest fan, and I see all the time all the different possible applications for it. So just know I'm a huge, huge fan. But I'm also Miss Thrifty and like to save money and like to only pay for things that I'm actually going to use. So now your other question, I would appreciate your opinion on whether I can get funding for this from any other source. Well, that's a really good question. And there are answers to that. First of all, ACT Today gives grants for skills and CARD learning on a regular basis. They do that every grant period. They love to give grants for skills. You know why? Because it's a really inexpensive thing to give that can be very life-changing. Big bang, small buck, big bang. So ACT loves it when parents write in and ask for a subscription to skills. For any of you who've been saying, okay, and please do not feel bad, because skills is very inexpensive and the cost of ABA versus skills wildly different, right? But there were many times on my journey through autism when I could not have afforded skills. As inexpensive as it is, I couldn't have afforded it. So if you are one of those parents who has been saying, I would like a skills subscription, but you have not been able to afford it, I'm so glad you're here, because I really want to encourage you in this next grant phase period to apply for a grant for it from ACT Today. I will tell you that's one of those grants that they absolutely love giving. Very cost effective. So, that's a big suggestion there. And of course, if you're in a dire straits right now, you don't have to wait for a grant period. You can apply for an SOS grant for skills, and you can do that today. Go on their website, www.act-today.org, and ask for an SOS grant. Say, I need this and I need this now. And that is available to you. But there are also some other considerations with skills. More and more providers are deciding that they are using the curriculum that is in skills. So it's possible that, and when you start talking to ABA providers or start registering for ABA providers, I would ask the question, do you guys use skills? Because more and more are, and if you do, then you're not going to have to pay for it. Your provider pays for it. And they will also, when you've done that assessment and you've entered in all those questions, answered all those questions, they will then use that, which will expedite your ABA. Because otherwise they have to do their own assessment, and probably most places will do an assessment in addition to that, but they also ask you to fill out a bunch of forms. It'll just make it that much quicker. So I would encourage you to check that out as well and see if somebody else is paying for that. And I also want to give you the news that we are about to start a promotion here where we are going to be able to, for the winner, I think we're actually getting 2 skills subscriptions that we're going to be giving away and 2 Cardi Learning that we're going to be giving away. So you'll want to stay tuned for that. So there are lots of different ways, but I would encourage you to take a look at it before you do anything else. I really honestly believe if you do that, you're going to be that much happier. And again, I am huge fan of skills. So love that you wrote into us, and love that you are ready to start ABA on your own. I think that's a powerful place to be as a parent. I hope that you are going to be eligible for insurance so that you can have an ABA program that comes in, but that might take you 3 to 6 months to get up and running. And there's no time like the present. And I really think even if you have the best of all circumstances, that you have ABA funding and your child's going to be able to get 40 hours a week, if you start ABA now and educate yourself and are using a powerful curriculum, you are going to be that much further ahead, and it's going to enrich what you do down the road. So I applaud you. I think you're doing it all right. And again, thank you for telling me that I need to be saying acronyms, not anagrams. Oi. So appreciate you. All right, we are going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about replacement behaviors for that challenging behavior segment we were talking about. Stick with us.
Hi, I'm Bryce Myler, and I'm the Contracts Director for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. I've been here for about 5 years. CARD has several employees with many years of insurance experience, dealing with insurance, dealing with pre-authorizations, dealing with discovering whether there's coverage or not. So we have more experience than any ABA provider that I've ever come across. So for a prospective client, somebody that may be interested in, ABA therapy and what CARD has to offer, we have a special 800 number, and you call that number. They will talk to you about what we have to offer, how ABA works. He'll ask you for the front and back of your ID card, and then we check to see if you do or do not have coverage. If you have coverage for ABA therapy, we try to do whatever we can to set it up where we can bill for you and you don't have to fight with the insurance company every month to get your claims paid. For California residents, we recently did a series of insurance trainings all over the state, and you can click on the link below to watch pretty much the full presentation. It has a lot of information, how you can get your insurance company to comply with what they're supposed to do, understanding the networks, and many other valuable pieces of information.
Challenging behavior is exactly what it sounds like, behavior that challenges us, right? And our children will engage in a wide range of challenging behavior. I mean, pick your poison. Spitting, kicking, hitting, biting, drooling, putting things in their mouth that they shouldn't, pushing people, getting up out of bed, not eating what they are supposed to, gagging. It's absolutely endless, all the different things that our children might engage in, saying a phrase over and over and over again. All of these things are things that are going to prevent them from making progress. And we want to be clear that none of these things are a part of an autism diagnosis. They're not listed as part of the criteria and the DSM 4 or 5 for that matter. But they are things that happen for a reason. And really we want to cling fast to that notion. Behavior is a means of communication. It all has a reason, even when it seems like it's bizarre and wonky behavior that's coming out of nowhere. It has some sort of function. We always talk on the show about how important it is for us to find the function of the behavior, and that in most cases that's not something that we're going to be able to do on our own. It really is something that requires someone with expertise who can look at the behavior and say, this is the need that it's fulfilling. So I want to encourage you to get a BCBA that is experienced in the field of autism and is experienced with that specific behavior, to look at the behavior and come back to you with a function of a behavior. Now, once we know the function of the behavior, we have a whole host of things that we can do to help to change that behavior. But one of the things on the list that's absolutely absolutely crucial is to find replacement behaviors for the behavior that's happening. Because if you stop and think about ourselves, and by the way, this is true for us as well, this is true whether you're on the spectrum or not, but when we engage in behaviors, if somebody was to say to us, for instance, let's pick something that a lot of people want to stop doing, which is smoking. It serves a purpose for the people who smoke, right? And when we say to somebody, we'll just stop. Well, how easy is that and how effective is that? How likely is it if we just say to somebody, stop smoking, that they're just going to stop? And yet we say that to children all the time. The child is kicking the chair and we say, stop. And we're thinking that it's going to just somehow miraculously stop, and it doesn't, right? Then frustration rises, and we get into other issues and other problems. But if we stop and think, okay, why is the child kicking the chair? And can we give the child another behavior to do that fulfills the same need that kicking the chair does? Then we circumvent that challenging behavior. Think about it from another perspective. Let's say that the challenging behavior is biting. Well, we have to know what the function of the biting is. Is the child biting to get attention? Then we're going to give the child a replacement behavior to be able to get attention appropriately. Is the child biting because there's the sensory sensation of it that feels good because their teeth feel funny or they're having some pain? They're teething and they want to bite down on something? Then we want to give a replacement behavior of biting something that's more appropriate, giving them crunchy foods to chew on. Maybe give them, we have therapeutic tools that we can give that it's appropriate for them to bite down on. My son for a while had a necklace that was very functional and fashionable, but when he was having that sensation, he could bite down on it and it wasn't inappropriate, even in his classroom setting. Imagine for a second that the child is biting to get access to something, that another child has a toy that they want and they bite the child on the leg. Now the child abandons that toy, the child gets to play with it for a second, and woohoo, they got reinforcement for it, right? In that case, we would give a replacement behavior of asking appropriately or signaling appropriately to be able to play with the toy. We always want to give a replacement behavior. If in our behavior intervention plan, we've created this we understand the function of the behavior and we've created a plan, but we left out a replacement behavior, we're not going to be successful. So finding a replacement behavior is absolutely key in circumventing that challenging behavior. Think about it, and you'll have great success. All right, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we have one more thing to talk about when you're putting together that behavior intervention plan that might be of use to you, so stick with us. Currently in the United States, 1 in 88 children is affected by autism. 1 in 88 means something different when your child is the one. Recovery is possible. Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, host of Autism Live, an online show about autism broadcast by CARD, the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. I'm also the mother of a child with autism, my beautiful son, Jem. You know our old joke, guess what?
Chicken butt.
Chicken butt. So we're going to take the chickens. But things weren't always so easy. I remember when Jem was first diagnosed with autism. I used to lay awake at night in bed and pray for someone or something that could help us to get our child back. My prayers were answered by Dr. Doreen Grampichet and the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. CARD treats autism and other related disorders using the principles of ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis, which is the only scientifically proven effective treatment for autism. It is also recommended by the American Academy of Pediatrics and the U.S. Surgeon General. About a year after we started treatment with CARD, we were able to see tremendous improvement, and we got our child back.
What grade are you in?
Second.
You are a smart cookie, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Do you like school?
Yeah.
Do you have any good friends?
Yeah, Oscar.
Oscar is your best friend?
Yeah.
And my child is just one of thousands to benefit from CARD ABA therapy. Across the nation and around the world, children are making amazing progress and being given the keys to unlock their full potential.
We are extremely grateful for the amazing job CARD has done in helping our daughter. Our daughter today, just in 4 months, I think is a totally different child than when she started with CARD. I kind of see it as, it seems like her brain in a way was asleep, and now that we've gotten so many services, we've seen her wake up.
It just has some gases.
Recovery is possible if you take the right steps, if you're willing to put in all the hard work. And 7.5 years, yeah, it's a lot of work. It's worth every little bit, and CARD's been there with us every step of the way.
I have 2 children with autism. I can't imagine a day without CARD or the therapists. They've been so instrumental in helping us with our kids and shaping their lives and helping us help them.
Thank you, Christy and Big Alex.
Thank you, Jackie and Mariana.
We've tried other things before ABA, but the most beneficial thing has been ABA services, and I'd be the first person to tell any newly diagnosed family that you have to contact an ABA provider, and if you're lucky enough to have CARD, you're very blessed.
Recovery from autism is absolutely a possibility. We've been recovering children for over 20 years. It's just a matter of identifying the child's medical needs, understanding the child's sensory issues, and then teaching the child all of the skills they need in order to function normally.
We know there's hope for autism. Autism is treatable, and recovery from autism is possible.
Have you heard of the expression, well, if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail? Well, I think that there's a certain amount of truth in that. We can all look and attest to when we have a clear-cut plan, and when we know how to follow the plan, we're more likely to be successful. Well, with our children's challenging behavior, we can make a plan. In fact, they call it a BIP, a BIP, a behavior intervention plan. Whether your child goes to school or not, it's something that's very effective. It requires you knowing what the function of the behavior is, and then it outlines step by step what action should be taken to create antecedent modifications, which we talked about earlier, to deal with the behavior and to deal with consequences. And in particular, when our kids are at school, I know a lot of us are frightened sometimes. Our kids go off to school, and we're putting a whole lot of trust in a whole lot of people that they are going to interact with our children in a way that's productive and safe and is not going to create further problems. And if you've done any ABA, you know that depending on how somebody responds, it could create more future problems. One of the things that we can do to make sure that our kids are safe and being dealt with in the proper way, we can start by having an evidence-based BIP attached to our child's IEP. It's a really powerful thing. If you look at your IEP on the very first page, on the top, there's a little box that says Behavior Intervention Plan attached. I would encourage you to go look at your IEP and make sure that that is checked and that there is a behavior intervention plan, and then you need to look at it to see, is the behavior intervention plan something that's appropriate for your child, and is it evidence-based? Now, I don't know about you, but years ago, I would have thought of that and been like, wow, that is just too overwhelming. You know, I don't even know half the jargon that you just said, and I would have no idea of knowing how to go about checking to see if it is an appropriate BIP. And so what happens usually is you go to the IEP and the school says, here's the function of the behavior, and they don't even say that. They say, here's the BIP, and they read it to you and say, here's what we're going to do. And a lot of times it sounds reasonable, right? And what do we know as people who are new to this party, who don't have our degrees in psychology? Well, I said earlier, I love skills, absolutely do. As a parent, it's a really exciting thing to me. And one of the exciting things, one of the many features that's available in skills is a behavior intervention plan builder. So if the school has come to you and said, okay, here's the BIP that we've been writing, or the school psychologist says, well, we see this behavior in your child and we've come up with a function, or take it a step further back that you're getting notices from school saying that your child is misbehaving and it's a problem. You can request that somebody come in and look at and find the function of what the behavior is, and you should. And once they have the function of the behavior, they should be writing the behavior intervention plan, and you should be included in that. But again, who has the knowledge to really participate? You do now because of skills. I just went through this process myself, where there was a draft of a behavior intervention plan that was given to me for my child's IEP, and I sat down with it and turned on my skills account, and I typed in the function of the behavior, which was clearly marked on the behavior intervention plan given by the school. And then and what the behavior intervention plan does is it gives you choices, and it says, here's what's evidence-based. And as I was looking, I saw I disagreed with some of the things in the behavior intervention plan because I wanted things that were evidence-based. And I'll just tell you, it was a powerful, powerful place for me as a parent to be in, that I looked at it and said, I disagree with this, was able to come back to the meeting and say, here's what I choose, here's what I'd like, and have the team agree with me and say, you're absolutely right, that's a more powerful behavior intervention plan. And Skills gave me the ability to do that, and Skills has the ability for you to do that. You can check a plan or you can make a plan. All you have to have is the function of the behavior. And from there, it gives you choices. It's a series of drop-down menus. It gives you definitions for everything so you don't get knee-deep in jargon. It's pretty incredible. And when we have a behavior intervention plan that's really well written and gives things very clearly, people are more likely to follow it, which means we're more likely to get the kind of behavior out of the people that are interacting with our children than if we didn't. It's a really lovely thing. It's when you go on the dashboard in your skills account, you'll see that there's a message center, and then there are progress charts, and below that it says Behavior Intervention Plan Builder. Click on it. I encourage all of you to go and do a trial membership and try it out. I would get it just for that. And there are so many other things that are great skills. So that's one of the reasons to check out Skills, is that Behavior Intervention Plan Builder. Oh, powerful, powerful, powerful. All right. We are pretty much here at the end of the show, and so I want to take a couple of minutes for some programming notes. As I mentioned before, we are not doing a live show tomorrow because we are going on location. It will not be live. For that, I apologize, but we need to go where Temple is. We're interviewing Temple Grandin, and then we will get that edited and we'll premiere it here on the show, and we'll let you know when that'll be. But we want her to answer your questions. So you guys have been writing in questions since we announced this yesterday morning. Keep them coming, because tonight I'm going to sit down and compile and figure out which questions we're going to ask. So send them to us any of the different ways that you see here on the screen. You can Facebook me or Facebook Autism Live, but we will be compiling them. So that's tomorrow. We will be here on Wednesday live with Ask Dr. Doreen. Really looking forward to it. I already have some questions in the mix for that. And then we will have Nancy Allspaw Jackson, who's going to be with us for Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. And then don't forget that on Thursday we'll be joined by Angela Persicki, and hopefully we'll have time later on in the week to fit Evelyn Goulden, since we won't be here tomorrow with Evelyn Goulden. I know she's a favorite of so many of you. So a pretty exciting week going on here. I can't wait to have an opportunity to sit with Temple Grandin and to ask her your questions. So send them on over. It's a very exciting time. I also want to remind all of you that we will be back on Wednesday with Ask Dr. Doreen. Until then, please give your kiddos a hug from me. Bye-bye for now.